Shalom, today is July 25th, and we're in day 658 days of the war in Israel. And the Friday's edition of the newspaper in Israel reads, Omdim b'makom. Up here is all of the Friday's edition, like the Friday, Saturday. It's a larger edition because tomorrow on Shabbat there's no newspaper released. But here's the main headline of our newspaper today, Omdim b'makom, standing in place. And specifically about the negotiations to return the 50 left hostages in Gaza. Israel was strong about wanting to bring them back, the population of Israel, the people of Israel, really were praying that they're coming back all together, all in a bunch, like the families of the hostages hope. But Omdim b'makom, everything is on hold, standing in place. And I'm reading, after the decision to bring back the Israeli delegation from Qatar, where the negotiations are happening, the US too is bringing back their representatives from the talks in order to consult and discuss. Witkoff says, Nishkol efsharuyot chalufiyot. We will consider alternative options to bring back the hostages. This is not good news for Israel. It's not good news for the families of the hostages, and it's not good news for the hostages themselves. After that happened, there was a very large mecha'ah. Mecha'ah is demonstration. In Kikar Chatufim in Israel, in the hostage square, just saying, save them. I'm reading here some of the signs. Otzrim et hamilchama. We're stopping the war. Bibi machriv Israel. Bibi is destroying Israel by not bringing back the hostages. Trump's legacy crumbles as the Gaza war persists. That continues there. Metzilim et Gaza. We're going to save Gaza and bring back the hostages. So there's a big demonstration. Okay. More inside is about the humanitarian crisis, the reported humanitarian crisis in Gaza, and also about the dramatic declaration of the Prime Minister of France, Emmanuel Macron, about a Palestinian state. So let's open up and see. Iska besakana, a deal in danger. This is again about the deal to release the 50 Israeli hostages still in Gaza. The headline up here, Israel b'milchama. Israel is at war. Chozrim leityatzut, coming back in order to discuss. Kshaim b'sichot hafsakat ha'esh b'Doha. Their challenges, difficulties, and the talks about the ceasefire in Doha, happening in Doha. There's difficulties there. After Hamas's response to the negotiations brought the negotiation down to the lowest point ever, Israel and the United States decided to bring back their delegations back from Qatar. Witkoff has accused the terror organization in the unwillingness to come to an agreement. But in Israel, they told the families of the hostages that it is not totally canceled. There's still some hope. I think we all hope that there is some hope. I cannot imagine what the families are going through. To the left here, we're reading about Ilana Gritzewsky. She's the girlfriend of Matan Zangauker. Here they are, Ilana and Matan. Both of them were kidnapped on October 7th. Ilana has been released since. Matan is still inside. Matan's mother, Matan Zangauker, was one of the most vocal voices to bring back the hostages. She's been more silent right now. I think it's just wear out. It says here, 3 shanim ito, aval shnatayim biladav. 3 years with him, with Matan, but 2 years without him. So Ilana and Matan are more separated than together. 1 year together and 2 years, almost 2 years in captivity. She says, I've been released from captivity, but not really. She's counting the days. And she says, every day, I'm just thinking about how am I bringing back my spouse. She says, Ben Zug Shari, my spouse, my boyfriend. Now about the humanitarian aid crisis in Gaza that's claimed. Hamasa'iyot nichnasot, it says, the trucks are coming in, aval hasiyua takua, but the aid is stuck. So I'm reading the subheadline. It reads, בזמן שתיעודי הילדים העזתים הרעבים, while the documentation of the starving Gazan children are increasing to a tsunami of international rage against Israel, tens of thousands of tons of humanitarian packages are waiting in the pathways in the border between Israel and Gaza. It's waiting to go in. The IDF says that the problem is not in the amount of aid that they're allowing to go in. The problem is in the distribution of it, which is in the UN's responsibility right now. So on Gaza ground, there's not enough distribution of the food. And the trucks that are coming in are being robbed. They're being robbed. It's not clear if by Hamas, which used to be by Hamas, that's why the whole mechanism has changed about this distribution, or is it robbed by the citizens? Not clear. But it says here, the distribution centers are not working well, and men, women, and children are left without food, and it is hard to explain these pictures that are being broadcasted across the world. But here in the picture, we see so much aid in Kerem Shalom. Kerem Shalom is one of the passages between Israel and Gaza for this reason. And there's so much aid waiting to enter. And hundreds of trucks with aid do go into Gaza. But Israel has been doing everything in its power to increase the aid. It's been opening more passages from Israel into Gaza. It's been opening more pathways of aid in Gaza itself, even risking Hamas is even bombing sometimes. Just a couple of days ago, they shot a rocket into one of the distribution centers. That's Hamas. So there's so much more than just the pictures of these starving children. I do want to say the last passage here, the last paragraph, said that the IDF has checked. And according to a unit that's in charge of checking these kinds of information, they say that daily checkups of the children and of the people are showing that there is no starvation in the Gaza Strip. So it's hard to know what's true, but there's obviously a challenge, and Israel is doing everything in its power to bring in the aid, and the UN is part in cooperating with Israel, and they need to be in charge as well with the responsibility. And moving on to the next article, Macron has declared France will recognize a Palestinian state in the West Bank. It says drama diplomatic, diplomatic drama. Here is Macron, the Prime Minister of France. This will be declared in a public, very festival conference, in a UN conference in September. And this is despite the efforts of Israel with France. This is dramatic, but it's important to remember that the Palestinians want a state instead of Israel. It's important to remember that Benjamin Netanyahu continues to say that, and he's right. They want a state instead of the state of Israel, and leaving the Palestinian as a state in the West Bank will develop another Iranian proxy within the boundaries and borders of Israel, which is extremely dangerous. So we will see where this will develop to. Israel assessed or assumed Macron will not declare that. They assumed he'll say that we need conditions for a Palestinian state, but no, the assumptions were wrong, and he is going to declare a Palestinian state. Drama. This article is about the post-trauma of the families of the hostages that have returned, that are still going through a hard time. It's not past. Once the hostage returns, the family is not normal again. And here the headline is this: Chaim normalim? Normal life? We are not there. ואני לא יודע אם נהיה אי פעם. And I do not know if we'll ever live a normal life. So these are three men that are bonded together with the difficulties, the trauma, the challenges that they're going through, being part of the families of the hostages, even when some of their family members have returned. It is Moshe Leinberg. He says his wife and his children returned. Here they are. And he says he wakes up in the night still with nightmares. What could have happened to them there? He says, is this really happening to me? They were actually there. They're back. He's still living in a daze. He's still in trauma. He's waking up with nightmares. He's not sleeping well. Yuval Densing, his father was kidnapped and murdered in one of the tunnels of Hamas, by Hamas. Yuval Densing says even though his father came back dead, they're still in a journey. The life has not gone on, continued. Here's another article about yesterday, Pigua. Pigua is a terror attack. Here is the terrorist that is still they're trying to catch him. They're afraid he'll do another terror attack. And this is what happened. המחבל דהר, ניצלנו בנס. The terrorist was in a car, and while closely to this bus stop, he just did a sharp turn and ran over whoever he could. And then he continued and escaped, and the IDF and the police haven't found him yet. But 9 soldiers and 2 citizens were injured. And this car was in central Israel near Netanya with an Israeli license plate, but he's from Taibe. Taibe is a Palestinian little, well, not so little, village in the West Bank, very close to Israel. So they're still trying to chase him and hoping he will not do another terror attack. We will end with the weather in Israel. Like the neighbors of Israel in Europe and Cyprus with very, very hot weather, Cyprus is going through very dangerous fires that Israel is actually helping to quench. Here it is, hityabshut. It's a play on words, an island of dehydration. This is in the Sea of Galilee, so the water level is decreasing, and it says Mofa Chimom. We are in a very hot week, and I say usually it's not a week; it needs to be 1, 2, 3 days, but it's a very, very hot week. They're saying it's a hot weekend. Lamrot yerida kala b'temperaturat hayom. Even though a slight little decrease in the weather today, it's going to get even worse and worse and worse until Sunday. So we're all sweating here, and the air conditionings are working very, very, very hard in Israel. That's it for today. We hope you liked it. If you did, like it, share it with your families and friends. Thank you for standing in prayer and support with Israel during these tough times, 658 days of the war. For more news, go to the All Israel News YouTube channel and subscribe. I'm Rotem Magen, broadcasting from Central Israel.